Hello and welcome once again to the Aligned Living podcast. My name is Iesha and today I want to invite you into a contemplation on integrity. So I'll start by asking you, do you consider yourself to be someone with integrity? And then I'm going to broaden it and ask you, what if integrity isn't just about how you treat others, but it includes how you honour your own alignment? Does that change things? Because most people that I work with consider themselves to be someone with integrity, so honesty matters to them, how they treat people matter, or they are on a journey back to that. Perhaps they've done something that's destabilized their own self-trust or trust in relationships, or they've done something out of alignment with their values and they're on the journey back to integrity. So it is something that is common in the people that I work with, that integrity is important. But what gets a lot less attention is how people tend to the whole of themselves. Because integrity isn't just about how you treat others. Integrity is also about our alignment with ourselves, because everything we do, even the energy that we've got to bring to others, begins within. So I'm going to use an analogy. Congruence, which if this is your first episode, the Iesha definition of congruence is when your body, heart, mind and soul are all in alignment. Now, congruence is a lot like the structural integrity of a building. When we operate outside of our own alignment for too long, there's signs, things start to appear. In a building, it's things like cracks in the walls, crumbling foundations, saggy floors or roof lines. In our own lives, the signs are things like triggered reactions, not having much patience, tension in the body, stress, despondency, dissatisfaction, and I could go on and on for 20 minutes about the signs. But there's signs when we're out of alignment. Now, what supports the integrity of a structure, like a building, is things like understanding the soil and having a foundation that actually matches. How you would build on sandy soil is going to be different to how you're going to build on clay. Understanding the weather of the area and designing accordingly. So buildings that are going to be in areas with lots of cyclones is going to be a bit different to somewhere that doesn't. There'll be things like adhering to load limits and the required maintenance and ongoing repairs that keep things operating optimally. For us human beings, it's exactly the same thing. Ongoing integrity means that we really need to notice when our bodies say no, because that's damage prevention. And we need to notice when our bodies relax and say yes. That's one of the signals of alignment. And it's really important to honour our feelings because they're moment-to-moment priceless feedback about where our attention is going or what we're actually doing or thinking about doing. And beings have load limits as well. Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, we have load limits and we also require attention and maintenance. So let me just unpack a little bit of that. I want you to think about your alignment as your energy structure. So if we are talking about a building, and let's say that the walls are a foot thick, and if we try and make that wall cover more ground than it's designed for, so we've stretched it out so now it's 2 foot thick, the whole thing is going to have a lot less stability. Same if we take that same wall and we try and shrink it so it's only like 3 centimeters wide, it's also, the whole thing is going to be compromised. And human beings often do this. I'm using a spatial metaphor, but I know that you will be able to understand this in a lot of different contexts. Sometimes people are trying to take up more space that is natural. They're trying to do so much more than what they're designed for. And just like the wall, that impacts how stable it is, particularly ongoingly. Or there's human beings that are being underutilized. They're taking up such a small amount of space when they're designed to be larger. And sometimes this can, to get very practical, sometimes it can be like someone with an amazing creative gift that has designed their life in such a way that there's no space and time for that gift. I worked with an artist once who was amazing, but he was working in like a factory job because he needed to make ends meet that was so out of alignment. When he would get home, he would be so depleted, so there would be no time for this incredible gift that he had to give the world. So that's someone taking up less space. Everything was going into survival, and absolutely none of his energy was left over for what I call thrival, just so it rhymes. So when we're taking up less space, we're living less of a life than we're designed to. Or when we're trying to do too much, we're stretched too thin. Both of these situations are work with a bull in the very short term. Human beings are incredibly resilient in the short term, but they do a lot of damage long term. Misalignment long term causes all sorts of unpleasantness. And if you listen to the episode that I did about our buffer, the more misaligned we are, the less patience we tend to have. It's easier to shut down or easier to explode. So I want you to think about your integrity structurally, because you matter. You being in alignment with you, having everything flowing how it's meant to, is how you are going to get the most out of life, how you're going to have the most natural inspiration and motivation for aligned action. It's how you're going to have the most natural vitality. So if I was to say one thing, like the most important thing that's required for living in alignment with this truth, the truth of your own uniqueness, it's this: understanding. Most of us weren't given the design specs when we incarnated into this body, right? We've been working at it along the way, cobbling together coping strategies so that we feel safe and we belong and we get our needs met and we have more things that are good and less things that are bad. And our needs, as our kind of needs and complexity of life grows, we learn to strategize, we get on a personal development path, we learn things about creating our best life. But we're actually all unique. You are unique. I'm unique. We have our own individual care labels, just like plants do. Some of us like full sun. Some of us would drop dead in full sun. We need different things to thrive. We need different environments. And by environments, I mean emotional environments and practical environments. What drains you might delight me, and what enlivens you might turn me into a cranky cow. So it's not because either of us is wrong. It's just because life is this beautiful mosaic, and I came to be my colour and you came to be your colour. So I'm not meant to be you and you're not meant to be me. This is why it's so important to come home to our own alignment, because no one else can tell you how to be you. And this is why it's so important to pay attention to that feedback, those signs I was talking about before when we're out of alignment. It's a bit easier to see in a building that there's a visible crack, but when you start to notice, first of all, you have to come home to the understanding that you matter, and then start paying attention to that feedback when you do when you are feeling under pressure, when there's stress in your body, when you've got no patience, when you're feeling flat, all of these are feedback that you're out of alignment. So when we can tune into that, when we can care about that, when we can honor or get to know and then honor our own care label, it's easier to be in alignment. But first things first, we need to understand that we're unique, which is why you might do the same thing as Fred over there who's living his best life, and it doesn't create you, it doesn't give you the same results because you're not Fred and he's not you. So understanding that you're unique, and this is wonderful, understanding that your feelings are sacred feedback, because they are. When they're correctly interpreted, they're going to guide you into alignment. Understanding and learning your own signals for alignment and misalignment. Like knowing where you are, where you yearn to be, and understanding the pathway forward. This is so key. Understanding is so key. So I'm going to ask you, is it time for your alignment to become integral? Are you ready for that freedom and vitality that comes as a result? And if the answer is yes, I need to let you know that like this deep work, depending on how out of alignment you are, the deep work is different and it does take time. It's very different to taking a painkiller and pretending that you've got the root cause of that pain taken care of. It takes time, but your own inner integrity and the energy to live the life that you want to, it builds as you shed layer after layer of what was never truly yours. So it's two things. This inner alignment, this integrity between you and you is a combination of homecoming into your own truth, the fractal pattern that is you, that is going to be beautifully and uniquely yours, and shedding what was not yours, because so many of our patterns are copied or kind of mismatching what we grew up with. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to do this instead. So much of it is conditioned responses, learned or chosen. So we need to drop off all that isn't us while strengthening our own inner alignment and our own integrity. And I kind of think of it like Michelangelo was reported to have said something around with his statue of David. He said, and I'm misquoting, but if you've heard the quote, I'm trying to do it justice. He said, David was always in the marble. I just had to remove everything that wasn't him. And when I first heard that, I was probably a few years into my coaching practice, and I was like, oh, that's exactly what it's like when I sit in front of someone, and maybe we're on opposite sides of the world, but I'm on Zoom and I'm looking at them. When I'm sitting with someone, that's how it feels. I'll see all of this patterning and choices, and sometimes it can be their job, it can be how they're showing up in relationships, it can be their relationship with their own body and their own health, whatever it is, but there'll be all of this stuff that's not them that I know if we work together is going to dissolve and resolve and drop away. And then there's the light of who they are always underneath, always driving them on the path that they've already been on that personal development path or that spiritual awakening path, or in that path that little part of them that whispers, not this. So I just wanted to offer you that. I wanted to offer you this idea. If you're someone for whom integrity matters, I really want to invite you to just broaden that perspective and to think about integrity as something that includes how consistently you honor your own alignment. Because I promise it's going to help with everything else. It's going to help. It's going to give you the energy and the honesty and the presence and the safety to be vulnerable and all of those beautiful things that can only help our integrity with other people. So that is all I wanted to say today. I hope this lands as something deeply useful, and I very much look forward to talking with you next time. Bye for now.